All right, let's talk about something we've all felt: mental fatigue. You know, that feeling where your brain has just completely hit a wall? Well, in this explainer, we're going to dive deep into the fascinating neuroscience of why our brains get so tired. And, more importantly, we're going to look at the real, science-backed ways to recharge. So, let's get right into it. I mean, you know the feeling, right? It's maybe 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you've been focused all day, and then, bam, you hit it. Suddenly you can't focus, you can't think straight, and every tiny task feels like climbing a mountain. It happens to all of us, but what's actually going on inside our heads when that feeling takes over? For so long, the message has been to just power through it, as if feeling mentally exhausted is some kind of personal failure. But here's the game-changing idea from the science. This isn't about a lack of motivation. It is a real, physical, and totally measurable signal that your brain is sending you. Okay, so let's dig into what that signal is really saying. I want you to start thinking about it less as some kind of character flaw and more like like an accurate reading from the dashboard of your own personal command center. And this right here, this is the central idea we need to wrap our heads around. That feeling of being totally drained isn't in your imagination. It's a precise metabolic report from your nervous system, basically telling you that the resources for high-level thinking are running on empty.
So, let's get a bit more specific. From a scientific standpoint, mental exhaustion means two key things are happening. First, waste products are building up from all that mental work. And second, the actual fuel, the glucose that powers the CEO parts of your brain, for things like planning and focus, is literally running low.
Okay, and get this is fascinating. The very first sign that you're hitting your limit, it's usually not that you feel foggy, it's that you get irritable. Turns out when the logical, regulating part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex, gets tired, it loses its grip on the amygdala, which is your brain's little threat detector. So all of a sudden, that part of your brain is on high alert, and a simple email ping can feel like a major crisis.
So what's actually going on, chemically speaking, to make us feel this way? Let's get into the nitty-gritty neurobiology of what's draining your cognitive battery.
So imagine your brain cells are like little engines. Every time they fire up, they use fuel, which is a molecule called ATP. The process creates a waste product, think of it like neural exhaust, called adenosine. As your day goes on, this adenosine just builds up, and it starts to put the brakes on your neurons. And by the way, this is why coffee works. Caffeine blocks those adenosine receptors, but it doesn't get rid of the stuff. The only thing that truly cleans it out is deep sleep.
So it turns out really hard thinking, especially making a ton of decisions, puts a massive strain on a specific network in your brain. Let's get to know the two main players in this whole story of fatigue.
Okay, first up we have a part of the brain with a mouthful of a name, the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. We're just going to call it the DLPFC for short. You can think of this as the CEO of your brain. It handles all the heavy lifting: planning, focusing, working memory. When the DLPFC gets tired, it's the one that starts sending out the distress signals.
And where do those signals go? They go to the insula, which is kind of like your brain's chief financial officer. The insula's entire job is to constantly weigh the cost of doing something against the potential reward. So when the DLPFC sends that fatigue signal, the insula immediately recalculates and says, whoa, any more effort right now is going to be way too expensive. And this is so cool because this chart shows you exactly what neuroscientists see in brain scans. When you're feeling fresh, a task has a reasonable perceived cost. But when you're tired, that exact same task suddenly feels like it has a super high cost. And to get you to actually do it, the reward has to be way, way bigger. Your brain is literally changing its cost-benefit analysis in real time.
All right, so we get the problem, we know why we get tired, but what can we actually do about it? Well, it turns out that not all rest is created equal. We need to think less about just stopping and more about actively recharging.
And this is maybe one of the most important takeaways. We have to understand the difference between passive rest and active recovery. Just scrolling on your phone might feel like a break, but it does absolutely nothing to clear out that adenosine buildup. On the other hand, active recovery, like taking a walk outside, actually speeds up that neurochemical cleaning process and helps your prefrontal cortex truly replenish. And there's actually a name for this whole idea. It's called attention restoration theory. Basically, it says that being in nature engages our brain in this gentle, effortless way. And that gives the part of our brain responsible for intense focus, our directed attention, a chance to finally take a real break and recharge its batteries.
And this quote just really nails the main point. Our ability to focus is a finite resource. It's not a bottomless well of energy. It's like a battery, right? Once you've drained it, you get this directed attention fatigue, and you have to actively do things to restore it. Okay, so active recovery is great for a quick fix in the moment, but what about the long game? How do we build a brain that's just more resistant to fatigue from the get-go? Well, this all comes down to our foundational habits.
And we absolutely have to start with sleep. Like Dr. Sapruto says here, sleep is not just downtime. It's an active, essential biological maintenance process. It is the #1 way your brain restores its ability to think. And here's the crazy part. During the deepest stages of sleep, this incredible process called the glymphatic system kicks into high gear. The space between your brain cells literally expands, allowing fluid to rush through and wash away all that metabolic junk, including all the adenosine we talked about. It is literally your brain's overnight cleaning crew. Now, after sleep, what you put in your body has a huge impact on your brain's long-term health. There's a protocol called the Mind Diet that gives us a really clear roadmap. And the strategy is pretty simple. It's all about adding more brain-healthy foods like leafy greens, berries, and nuts, while at the same time limiting the foods that are high in unhealthy fats. And listen to this, the results are just, wow. Studies have found that people who stick closely to the Mind Diet have up to a 53% lower risk of developing Alzheimer's. That is not a small number. That's huge. This is really about building the biological foundation for a strong, resilient brain. Okay, for our last section, let's get super practical and bring all these ideas into our actual workday. The new advice from researchers isn't just to sit less, it's to sit smart. So what does active sitting even mean? Well, here are a few really simple things you can try. Instead of passively zoning out to a TV show, try actively reading something. To break up your workday, set a timer for a little micro-challenge, like a quick puzzle every hour. It's like a little brain workout. You can also just schedule 15 minutes of truly focused deep work on your calendar. And finally, something as simple as a sticky note can work wonders as a little reminder to keep asking questions and keep your mind engaged. So at the end of the day, maybe the most powerful thing we can do is change how we think about our brains. It's not a computer that we can just optimize and push to its limits. It's more like a garden that needs to be cared for and cultivated. So the real question isn't how you can hack your productivity. It's how will you choose to tend to your own garden?